Hi team. First of all, thanks for considering my application for this first round of interview. Myself Praveen and I'm working as a cloud engineer. This video is the first demo video for the first problem statement and let's get into the video. So now this is the architectural diagram that I have prepared for this first problem statement. This will show how the infrastructure is created, how the end user is connecting to our EC2 server. Okay. So whenever the developer push the code to the GitHub, the code pipeline will get triggered automatically and it will store it in the S3 bucket. Okay. Then the code deploy will get the code from the S3 bucket and it will deploy to the EC2 server. So this is how the developer flow will work and the end user flow will work like we will be attaching the load balancer to the EC2 server and we'll be exposing only the load balancer URL to the end user. So whenever the load comes from into the EC2, it will comes only through the load balancer. So here the load balancer is managing the traffic and it will be request is passed routing to the EC2 server. Okay, this is how the architectural diagrams looks like and this is how the infrastructure is working right now. So let's get into the more technical of how the infrastructure is created and how will be working. Okay, for now, for this, we need to create the application load balancer first, and then we will be creating the EC2 server. So let's get into the video in depth. Now, this is the AWS management console. I'll be showing you how to create the load balancer and how we'll be attaching it to the EC2 server and the following more steps. This is the EC2 server place. Here in the left hand side, you can see the load balancer tab. In that, I have already prepared the complete setup. I have already prepared the complete setup. So I will be showing you how the demo of how it's working. Okay, this is the load balancer that I have created for this infrastructure, and this load balancer is an internet facing. This will be available from the internet. We can directly connect to this in a load balancer. There are two type of load balancer. Here I am using the internet facing load balancer. Okay, here you can see the load balancer, listeners and rules. The listener refers to the end user, okay? And here you can see the target group. This is how working. I will say you the how it's working, okay? Whenever the request come into the load balancer, it will accept only the listener or it will traffic get the request from the listener like HTTP, which is on port 80, and it will forward the request to the EC2 server, which is running in our infrastructure. Okay, the infrastructure EC2 server is connected to this target group, and you can see that this is the target group where the infrastructure is connected. Okay, here you can see the target of the instance ID. This is the instance ID of the EC2 server that is deployed in our application. And you can see here this is the DNS name where the incoming requests are getting in. Okay, now you can see that the code is deployed and it is visible to us in the UI. So this URL will be working in any of the web browsers, and you can also check it out in your web browsers. Okay, this HTTP 80 refers to the HTTP protocol. This is not a HTTPS protocol. That's for demo. I just using the HTTP protocol and it will be serving the traffic to the infrastructure that is created in our EC2 server. Okay, so now the load balancer is created and it is the target group also created. Okay, now we will go to the, we need to create a launch template, which is like, this is the EC2. Now we are going to create the EC2. For creating the EC2, it's not possible to create a simple single EC2 multiple times. So it will take a manual work. For scaling up and scaling down based on the load, we'll be using the auto scaling group. Okay, for auto scaling group, the one method is it cannot able to directly create the EC2 server. For creating the EC2 server, the auto scaling group will use the launch template, guys. So this is the launch template. The launch template is nothing but it's a configuration file of how the EC2 instance should be created. Here you can see is that launch template. Here you can see the launch template that I have created for this EC2 server. Here it will show the basic things like what is the instance ID that you are going to use, what is the EBS that your volume that you are going to use, and whether it's going to deploy in the public subnet or private subnet, or like the things it will be stored. Here you can see the instance detail. The instance type is that I used is t2.micro, which is a minimum level instance, and it is also free tier instance. Our code is not a big code, which is like not high level of code. There will not be more traffic also. So this demo video and the demo infrastructure will it's required for this T2, the T2 micro is very required. And we are using the security groups. Okay, now I need to explain you the security groups. Here here you can see the end user will be connected to the application load balancer, which is an HTTP protocol. Like you can see that in the load balancer you can see already, which is that this is the HTTP 80 protocol where the end user is connecting to our load balancer. Now the load balancer should connect to our code, which is running in the another port, which is the port the code that is running in the server is 3000. So for this we need to create a security group for the load balancer, so that it should sounds like the load balancer should accept only the request that is coming from the port 80, and it will route the request to the load EC2 server. Okay, we also need to have the EC2 server securities group. In the EC2 server security group, we need to configure like here you can see the security groups. Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. Here you can see this is the EC security group that I have used for this Lance template and also for the load balancer. Here you can see inbound rules is the incoming request, outbound rules is the outgoing request. Okay, here you can see I have configured, I am just using the one single security group for the all of the infrastructure services that I have created here. Okay, so here you can see the port 80 is allowed from HTTP request. This allows the request from port 80, and here you can see the port 3000 is allowed. This is mostly is to for the EC2 instance to accept the request from the port 3000. Okay, it will not accept any other request from any other ports. So this is a security violation. If you allow different ports, it will be going to be a security violation, and we should not use that right now. This is for the demo video. I just opened all the ports in the all traffic. Now let's move to the previous Lance template. I will show you the in-depth topic. This is the AMA ID, which is the missing image ID of this EC2 server. This is the configuration file. Based on this configuration file, the EC2 service will be created for the multiple times. It will scale up and it scale down. So here in the EBS, just no, it's not showing any of the EBS storage. And in the network interfaces, which is this is the network interface. This is the one which is connecting the server to the internet. Okay, this will only gives the public IP and the private IP. And the advanced details, you can see the instance IAM profile. This instance IAM profile is the role that the EC2 needs to talk to any of the other services. Like in this is the user data. This user data is the one which is going to, in whatever the code installed written in this user data, it will be deployed whenever the server is created. So here you can see it is getting the code from the AWS S3. So now the EC2 server has to get the code from the AWS S3. For this, the EC2 server should have the permission to get the code from the S3. So for this, we need to give a role which will talk on behalf of this EC2 service to connect to the S3 and will get the force code. Okay. Here the role use this EC2 role to access EC2 role to access S3, and for this you can see this is the role that I have created for this EC2 instance. Here you can see the AWS S3 read only access. This AWS S3 read only access will get the code from the S3 bucket and it will run in our EC2 instance. So the IAM instance profile is the EC2 rule. Okay. And this user data is used to run the code with whenever the service is created. And here the user data is sounds like it will be going to update to the latest package of whatever the package which is already previously installed, and it will be going to install the code deploy agent. For the EC2, we need the code deploy agent, so that only the code deploy agent will can be able to communicate to this EC2 server. Okay. So this is the launch template for which is the configuration file for creating the EC2 instance. Now, for creating the EC2 instance, we prepare the launch template. Now we need to create a auto scaling group. This is the auto scaling group that I have created. Here you can see the auto scaling group name, which is the just given a demo name of how it's work. Okay. So we are just attaching that launch template to this auto scaling group, and it will default. It will get the default configuration from the launch template, and it will be attached right here. Okay. And here you can see this is the desired capacity and the minimum capacity and maximum capacity. This is what whenever the load gets whenever we get a high load, the traffic will be getting high, then the servers CPU utilization and memory utilization will be high. Whenever the CPU utilization and memory utilization is high, it should scale up. Okay. I configure like it should scale up to 2 instances whenever the peak high load incoming to our server. Okay. If the incoming request is very slow, it will be then again go to the one server, then it's not required to run 2 servers at a time. And then I just use the availability zones for complete all the availability zones in the OKO region. You can see here. So this is for the high reliability. So if any of the one is zone is down, you can able to use another zones to so that the server will not be getting down, and the end user will not get any delay in their web server. Okay. Now, yeah, previously first step, we have created the load balancer, right? We will be attaching this load balancer to this auto scaling group, not to the launch configuration, because the launch configuration is the EC2 server configuration. The EC2 server configuration will be getting multiple or deferred for each time. Whenever the load get increased and load gets decreased, it will scale up and scale down, so that the load balancer this IPs also will be different. Okay. We'll be attaching the load balancer to the auto scaling group, and so that only here attach the load balancer to this auto scaling group. And we have the health check, which will check for the EC2 server's health and the EBS health, and the period is 67. So this is the basic details, and here you can see the activity whenever the EC2 server requires scale up, because whenever the EC2 server will be uh, handling multiple requests, it will be request here to scale up the instances. So here you can see the activities of or whatever the logs that are coming from the EC2 server. Okay. This is not the logs. This is the server's request. This automatic scaling. This is the place. Here you can see the target tracking policy. We should enable this for scaling up our instance and scaling down our instance. Okay. Here you can see enable or disable. I just enable the scaling up policy. Like whenever the CPU utilization of one server is above 50%, it will create another server based on this policy. Okay. Here you can see the instance needs 60 seconds to warm up. This in 60 seconds to warm up is like whenever the instance scales up, server is scaling up, the server gets deployed and everything is ready at a ready position. It will wait for 60 seconds. After the 60 seconds, it will start working. Okay, the load will be coming to this server also. Until the 60 seconds, it will be getting in the waiting line. Like it's like it will be deployed and the code is also getting updated, but the request will not come to this server until the 60 seconds. This is a warm period of getting ready. It's ready for the handling the traffic. That's the instance need of 60 seconds. Okay. The scaling is also enabled. Now he can see here, this is the desired instance, or we can also see that this is the minimum instance. Oh, here you can see, as I have mentioned, that desired instance minimum capacity is 1. Whenever we are creating the auto scaling group, based on the desired capacity, the instance will be created. The desired capacity is here is 1, so the instance is also created 1. If the desired capacity is 2, the instance will be created, it will be 2. But minimum 1 will be handled based on the desired position. Minimum position should be below or equal to the desired position. Okay. This is the lifecycle hooks for the code deploy agent. So I will explain you on when I am explaining about the code deploy. That is some auto scaling group. Now what we have seen is, like, we have created the load balancer and we have created the auto scaling group based with the Lansky template. Now the instance is also get created. Okay. Now we need to deploy the code from our GitHub to the EC2 server right now. Now for this we need to have a GitHub code. Okay. For this I will open the GitHub. Here you can see this is the repository that I am using for this is first problem statement. Here you can see the script where I have created the script file, and here you can see the abstract.yaml and package.json. This is the sample web application code that I am using for this for first problem statement. Okay, I just open it in the VS Code. This is the code that I am using for this EC2 server. This is the there will be I will be using only two paths, which is a root path, and I will be using the user path. This is the abstract.yaml. This file is very important for our code deploy agent. So like, right, you can see now the GitHub code is getting the now the GitHub code is created, and it's in the local environment. Previously for the checking, I just deployed push the code to the GitHub repository. Okay, here you can see before 2 hours I just updated the code. For the demo I just update some codes now, and I'll show you the how it's working. Okay, I just given a space and I will submit the message, and I will show you the how it's working right now. Now I just updated the abstract.yaml. Okay, this pushing that everything is up to date. Okay, let's refresh it. I will not deploy. I think it will not get updated here right now. So I will just make changes to this. Okay, code updated. Okay, git push. Now, now when I click enter, the code will be updated in the GitHub and the pipeline will be triggered. You can see right now. Now you can see the code is updated to the GitHub. Okay. Now let's go to the CI/CD pipeline team. Here you can see now code is updated in the abstract.yaml. Let's see in the CI/CD pipeline. Here now the pipeline will be getting triggered. Like now you can see here, right? The pipeline is get triggered right now, and it's fetch the code, and it will store the code from the S3, and the now that code deploy will get the code from the S3 and it's deploying in the EC2 server. Okay, now you can see here the deployment is successful. So this is how whenever the code is pushed to the GitHub, the pipeline will be triggered. Here I am using the trigger which is now no filter. So whenever the code is pushed to the GitHub, it will be triggered. Now I can't informed about that the developer is developing the code and pushing the GitHub. Then now the code pipeline is triggered and and it stored the code in the S3 bucket, and the code deploy get the code from the S3 bucket and stored in the EC2 server, deployed to the EC2 server. Okay, I will show you how it's configured right now. Now for creating this pipeline, we need to create the code deploy first. Okay, so first I'm going to the application. First thing we need to do here is we need to create a application. So I just created an application called name called demo, and I used and the compute platform we should be it will be EC2, just because I'm here using the EC2 server to deploy our code, and this is the server, right? Now when the application is created, the next thing we need to do is we need to create a deployment group. So I can see I already created a deployment group. Just I will show you that. This demo -dg is refers to the deployment group, and here now the another things comes into picture. Okay, this deployment type is an in-place deployment. Okay, there are two types of deployment: in-place deployment and the blue-green deployment. Here I'm using the in-place deployment for this demo video, but for the high level, which is like for a prod environment, or whenever we have the consideration like our servers not be down for even for seconds, we'll be using the blue-green deployment. Okay, I will explain you what's the blue-green deployment and in-place deployment right now. The another thing important is the role. Okay, now like I mentioned in the EC2 server, which role here that the EC2 server has to fetch the code from the Git S3, so that we use the role called use the role for EC2 server to get the code from the S3. Right now here the code deploy has to update the code in the EC2 server. Okay, for this the code deploy should have the access for this EC2, right? So for here, before creating the code deploy, you need to create a role for the code deploy. Here you can see I just created a code role called code deploy role. This code deploy role is the naming convention should be code deploy role, so that only the whenever we are creating the code deploy, it can able to fetch the name this role. Okay, if you are creating another name, then it cannot able to get the role. Okay, it will be mentioned in the while configuring this code deploy itself. Okay, here you can see there's a AWS manager policy for the code deploy role. This what this policy tells us is it will be having the permission for creating the auto scaling, and it will be having the permission for the EC2 server. So like compute service, it will be having the necessary permission for the code deploy. Okay, so right now it has the code deploy has the access to the EC2, and the deployment configuration is one at a time. Here there are different deployment configurations, which is like we can deploy this one at a time. It refers to it will be the code whenever the code get triggered, it will update only one instance at a time. Whenever the first instance is getting updated and everything is successful, then only it will going to update the another instance. Here I am using the only one instance of maximum and minimum of one instance at a time, so that it will update that instance in a time. If you are using two instances at a time, it will update the first instance, and it will wait for some time to get the success. And if everything is working fine, then it will deploy the code to the another instance. So here I am using the code deploy all one at a time. So this is the method. There is another method, which is called code deploy default all at a time. Here you can see You can see one at a time for the EC2 all at once. This all at once will refers to when if you are having two instances at a time, if you are having multiple four instances, it will deploy update the code to all the servers at in a single time. Okay. Now let's come down and we can see. So this is the deployment history that I have done for the previous this when I'm preparing this demo. Before the demo, I just write out different steps like auto blue green deployment and the in place deployment. Right, I will show here. Right now, I will show explain you about the in place deployment. In place deployment is like it will update the code in the direct running server itself. It will not create a new server and it will not update the code. It will directly update the code in the running server itself and in a time. Here you can see the downtime of 1 seconds, but we cannot able to note it down if you are if the more traffic is not coming in, we cannot able to note it down, right? So I will show you this in the demo of, after the in next after the explanation. I will show you the demo. Okay. So this is nothing but it will update the code directly into the server without creating the new instance. Now the code deploy is created and the code deployment group is also created. Now everything from this here is also created, guys. The code deploy is now created. Now we will be creating the code pipeline. The S3 is not required to create. It will be automatically created whenever the code pipeline gets done. Okay. Now let's go to the code pipeline. Before creating the code pipeline, we need to have the connection details with the GitHub. Okay. For that, you need to create a connections first. This connection is like it is like a AWS to get the authorization from the GitHub. Like it will whenever you create a new connection, you will be redirecting to the GitHub pages. You can see like you'll be redirecting to the GitHub pages, and it will deploy one of the agent like AWS agent, AWS code to this connection agent, and it will be directly fetching in the pipeline directly. I will show you here. This is the demo pipeline that I have created, and you can here can see like this is the trigger that I'm using. I'm just not using any trigger, so it's not showing any of the triggers right now. Just mentioning the branch where the code is getting where is the branch, which is the branch I'm using right now. This is the source, guys. This is the source. This is where the GitHub is configured. Here you can see I am using the GitHub version 2. In the version 2 only, we will be having various features like triggers, like this. We'll be having a new high number of features. Will be mostly using the trigger options here for this version 2. Here you can see the connections. I just created a new connection, two new connections like GitHub. This is the connection we can give anything. This is the connection that is established with this repository. Whenever it is asking for our connection, it will ask us to get the access. If you are going to create it, give the access for only one repository or for all the repositories. It's based on you. You can give the repositories access. Okay, limited access. So I can see like my code is deployed to the code deploy EC2 ASG security group. Here you can see this is the repository name. So this is one that I have configured here, and the branch is main, and you can see the branch is main. The main branch is configured. Sorry. Here you can see the main branch is configured, and it will get the code from that main branch right now, and it will store it in the S3. Yeah. This is we can leave it out this because we are not using this in this currently, but you can able to this is optional. Okay. The output artifacts. This is the source artifact. This output artifacts is referring to the S3. The source artifact is the code which will be deployed to the S3. And in the next stage, we will be connecting our AWS code deploy. Okay. Here you can see the deploy stage is this is the deploy stage. I am just action provider will be a code deploy. I'm just using the code deploy. And here you can see the input artifacts. Now the code deploy should have the file code to deploy to the EC2 server. For this source artifact, which is we see in the source, right? That is the source artifact which is stored in the S3. It will be getting as an input to this code deploy. Okay, and our this is the code that is we get. Now we get the code. Now we have to deploy that code to the EC2 server. We are just using the demo code deploy, which is the demo, and I just using the demo DG. Okay, in this demo deployment group, we will be configuring the EC2 server ASG. So this is how the pipeline is configured. Now here you can see the summary input and output. Here you can see the branch that is like output artifact is a code zip and input is a output artifact format is a code zip and it will output is stored in the S3. Okay. So certificate you can see that in the right down you can see the EC2 console which is refers to the S3. If you go instead then it will be going to the redirect to the S3 and it will get the code from the S3 for this code deploy and you can see the summary input and output everything you can be able to see here. Now what I have shown is you can see this is the S3 bucket that the code deploy is getting the code from the S3 and it will be getting the deploying to the EC2 server. Okay. Now I shown you how the infrastructure is created. Let's test how it's working. Okay. Now I will go to the ALB. First we'll see the code how the UI is right now. Now I just go to the AL load balancer and I just be getting the URL. Okay. I just get the DNS name and here yeah here's we have. So I just right now refresh the server code. This is the UI that we have right now. So it's deployed. Let's do some changes and we'll check whether it's working correctly or not. Okay. And just go to the Git VS Code and I'll just update the code. So I'll be using like paragraph tag and I'll be using like some code like strong YouTube. I just have a YouTube my channel. So I'll be just using facing the YouTube channel video slash strong and as href it will refers to YouTube. Just for the demo, I just using the youtube.com. Okay. Slash Praveen hyphen Swami. Okay. I think this is the sample your name and YouTube. I just using the some of the extensions, so it will be showing like this for me. Okay. Now let's deploy this code to our EC2 server, guys. We can check whether if it has any other error or right now code level error. So it will the deployment will be getting failed in the EC2 server. Okay. EC2 server paragraph tag is open, strong is open, closed, paragraph is closed, anchor is open. Okay, everything's correct, guys. So now after this code line, I have just inserted a new line. So it will show us, it has to be show the new line. Okay. Let's do the commit. Let's commit and push the code, guys. Just updated and I'll just push the code, push. Okay. Now you can see the code is pushed. Let's refresh it. I think the pipeline is getting updated. Once the pipeline is updated, we can see the code is updated in the server, guys. Let's see whenever you can also log into the EC2 server and you can also check the whether the code is updated. If you are having any errors, then you can able to log into the EC2 server. I will show you in the next. After it is successful, then I will show you how it's working right now inside the EC2. Okay. I'll show also the scaling up and scaling down and how it's working and how it's scaling up the instances. and how it's managing the traffic from the ALB. Okay. Yeah. Right now the code is updated and the deployment is successful. Okay. Let's see whether it's reflected in the UI. Let's refresh. Yeah. Success, guys. It's right now it's deployed. And here you can see the OIT. I think it's go to the YouTube server, but it's not a correct URL. Now you can see the code is updated in our server. Okay. So based on the project requirements, for the first line, for the first three requirements, the whenever code is pushed, it's triggered and the code is updated in the EC2 server, and we can able to see it in using the application load balancer. Okay. Now let's see the scaling up and scaling down based on the loads. Okay. For that, I will be going to log into the EC2 server. I just already have that. I just refresh the session, so it will be working. Now here you can see I'm just using the direct connect. But we in the production environment or the stage or for the dev environment, we should use any other service like Putty to log into the EC2 server. I'll just be for this demo. I'll be just using this direct connection from the Chrome. Okay. Now, now you can ask your question like how it's going to configure. Now for the incoming request, we'll be opening the port 3080 for the ALB, and for the EC2 server, we'll be having the port 3000. Now you can see the port 3000 is open. It has to accept the request from the port 3000. Right now we are using the Linux server, which will be going to use the port as 22. Okay. For this, I need to configure the port 22 in the security group so that only it will allow the request from this Linux server to the EC2 server. Okay. Just I'll show you for running this itself. This is a direct connect, so we have to if we need to have the if the port 22 allowed. If it's not allowed, then it will not be opening right now. I just already open the port 3000. I think you can see in the security groups. Yeah, you can see the port 22 is opened already. Now let's do the scaling up and scale down, guys. This is the code deploy EC2 code that is deployed right now. If you can, I will go show you the one code which is like if the code right now the code is running or not. You can see like by using the curl command, you can see whether the code is running inside the server or not. Whenever you are troubleshooting the issues, we'll be using that like we'll be checking it like whether the code is running itself whether the error is from the infrastructure or from the code, whether it's running inside the code or not, server is or not. We can use this like that local host. The, the port is running the port 3000. So here you can see when we get the output. Okay. Right now we need to scale up the server. For scaling up, yeah, I'll be using the I'll be need to we need to maximize the CPU utilization to more than 50%. Only the more than the 50% for a particular period of time, like 5 minutes. I'll be configured that it's also in that time tracking policy. Then I will now I'll increase for increasing the CPU utilization to 50%. I will be using the command called stress. This is the command that I am going to use for this. For using this stress, we can able to increase the CPU utilization to more than 50% up to 100%. We can for particular period of time we can able to hold this for a particular period of time. I'll be having the notepad for this so that we can able to run this. Okay, this is the notepad that I have for the content I have to need to speak. Okay, first we need to install the stress. Okay, control C will not be working right here. I'll be using the paste. I will be installing that. Now the stress is installed and we'll be using the stress command. Now we are using the stress command to run the CPU 4 nodes, and this dev/null refers to should not log anything in here. The output should not log any other outputs here, and we are using the two which redirects to the dev/null, which refers to this is a standard output path, and the two is refers to standard error. There are three names which is standard input, standard output, and standard error. 0 is the standard input, and 2 is the standard error and one is the standard output. Okay, this slash dev slash del refers to the standard output, and we also redirecting any other errors which is the true to the standard output, and this and refers to the background process. Okay, just I will be running here. For seeing the CPU utilization right now, we are using the hstop command. Hstop command will give you the visual representation of CPU utilization right now. Here you can see right now the CPU utilization is 100%. For holding this for 5 minutes, it will the CPU will be scaled up. The utilization will be 100%, so the server will be scaled up. At that time, we will see whether the request is directing to our server, and whether we are seeing any other lag or any performance no performance issues in our web server. Okay, using Control C. Okay, this is we just didn't use any other timing, so it will be running for the infinite number of times. Okay, let's see whether the EC2 server is scaling up. You can see that auto scaling group. Yeah, I think it will be updated right now. Let's check. Under the automatic scaling, we will be having the scaling policy. So it will be up at 50% utilization. It will be scaled up. Here in the activity session, we can able to see the sessions, right? I think it's not getting updated. We have to wait for some times to get updated. Right now, we will check the CPU utilization is high. Right now, we can check the process request whether it's handling or not. Yeah, it's handling because only one request at a time is getting sent to the server. If you have more number of requests getting to sent to the server, it will be we will be seeing some of the loads, hangups, buffering time will be buffer time will be there. Okay, right now you can see instances running. It's running only one instance, guys. It will work. Extra CPU utilization is 100% right till now. We can also configure the alarms so that we'll be getting any notification whenever the CPU utilization is 50% or whenever the server is scaling up, we'll be getting the notification. We can also configure that. Whenever server scales down, we can also configure the notification, guys. So within that period of time, I will show you what are done until the server scales up. Okay. So I have also prepared the documentation, complete documentation of what I've done for this first round of interview. I just for this is for the second problem statement that I've done. I just prepared the documentation and I have attached the code to the git.github.com. So this is the first document that I used for the problem scripting statement. I also prepared the complete documentation of how this infrastructure is created and how it's working and how the code is deployed, like scaling up to scaling down. You can see the architecture diagram and all the steps that I have installed complete from end to end. I just created the documentation. I also prepared a documentation for what are the issues that I have faced during this during the creation of infrastructure. Okay, here you can see I faced several problems. I just attached some of the few problems with the screenshots, and I'll be attaching much more when I was sending that mail. Okay, you can see this takes long stop time, guys. 30 pages. I just for this infrastructure creator. I just prepared a complete end to end, or you can see how to create this infrastructure, how it's going handling the traffic, how this coding gets updated. Okay, I'll see you the automatic scaling. No, the activity session, it should get the activity right now. So this is how the configuration of the infrastructure update created from my side for this demo video, and it is working fine. This can be done in the stage and dev environment, but for prod environment, we need to enhance our security rules, and we need to use the blue-green deployment, not the in-place deployment. We need to use the blue-green deployment to avoid the downtime. If you are using any media like YouTube media platform, you need to use the blue-green deployment, which is the best for us to have no buffer time. Use 50%. Go to the instance. Yeah, right now you can see, guys, the new instance is getting created right now. It's scaled up to two servers right now, and it will once the server is ready, it will wait for 60 seconds for a warm period, and it will receive the traffic. Okay, let's go to the auto scaling group. You can see auto scaling groups updated successfully with this old message. Yeah, you can see right now here, guys. Instances 2, decided instance 2. Instances which is running right now is 2, and it will change the desired capacity to 2. Desired capacity refers to the auto scaling group considerations. Okay, now here you can see that activity logs right now. I already informed that. Here you can see after getting the CPU utilization of 50%, the notification is getting triggered, the activity is logged here, and the new instance is getting prepared. Okay, here you can see the new instance is prepared. This I this from by doing that, doing some different scenarios. I just noticed the activity logs and the automatic scaling. I everything noticed by doing the different things for this preparation for this infrastructure preparation. I just different used blue-green deployment, place deployment. I just different scenarios like um, decreasing the easy health check period. If you are decreasing this health check period to 30 seconds for the first time, I just use it for 30 seconds. What it is done is it is creating multiple instances because of the EBS failure. That use during that failure time, I just noticed that activity logs. So I just find out due to the EBS configuring, it takes much more time to configure to the EC2 server. It's deploying a new instance more time based on the configuration that I have set here, and this capacity and the minimum capacity. It is getting new instance creating and deleting because of the health check period of low time. So we need to be very careful when we are dealing with the health checks also. So right now you can see the instance should be up right now. Okay. Now right now the instance is up in that it's running right now, guys. So let's go to the it next thing whenever we need to see is we need to go to the load balancer, and also you can check whether the new code is updated in the new EC2 server which is scaled up. Okay, we right now we check this using the load balancer. It's not, we can also go to the low inside the EC2 and we can able to check it, but we are using the load balancer, and how will we going to check it right now. Okay, I'll show you how to check it that. The resource map will show you how the this resource map will show you how the traffic is getting how this resource map shows how the load balancer is connected to the EC2 server, guys. Yeah, when I refreshed it until the first 1 hour until the first server is running, the resource map will show like the load balancer is connected only to the only one server. Right now we are using the two servers. It scales up and the two servers are running handling the traffic right now. You can see here the two servers are connected to the one single listener. Whenever the traffic gets from the 80, it will be going into the two servers right now. Now here you can see the health that is health for both the servers. Right now we will stop one of the server and we will see whether the traffic is routing to another server. Okay, let's check. For this we need to go to the any of the EC2 server. We just already log into the EC2 server, guys. Like I'll need to stop the stress command. We need to p kill to stop the stress, which is p kill is refers to process kill. You can see the no up stress is terminated, guys. Okay, now you can see stop the CPU utilization will be low right now. Here you can see the CPU utilization right now 0%. Right now we need to stop this Node.js process. Okay, for seeing the Node.js process, whether we need to have the line which is the ID to stop the Node.js process. For this, we are going to use commands to get the Node command running command ID. Okay, I'll be using the nohub command, which is run the Node.js application in the background, and then we'll be using that. Yeah, you can see I'll be using this to get the ID of the Node.js process. We can just pu just ask, like we'll be passing the. Here you can see it will show you the all the running process in the EC2 server. You can see these are all the running process inside this EC2 server. In this one, we'll be also having our code which is running also inside this server. We can for this we'll be using the pipeline command. Sorry, we'll be using the pipeline command, and we will pass the output from this here to and node grep node. Yeah, here you can see our Node.js application is running. This we should not use this. This is a grep command process. This is the Node.js application that is running in our EC2 server, guys. We need to kill this ID. Okay, we kill and we'll use just p and we using 25406 to kill this Node.js process. Okay, right now I think it's killed. Let's check whether it's working right now or not. Curl stop no curl http :/ localhost 3000. It's right now still running. So we just not stopped the EC2 server node server code. Okay, because the you can see ps aux and pipeline command grep. We are using the grep node. You can see this still it's not created, guys. It's running. So we are just using the wrong command. So I'll be using this command where it will stop this 25406 and 25405 and 25406. This will stop both the servers right now. It will get the server name and we need to stop this. Okay, for this we'll be having a command like I just need to show it out. Wait, guys, vehicle, yeah, okay, sudo vehicle node. I think it will return it will ps aux. It will we can check right now. Status curl http localhost 3000. Yeah, right now we just deleted the sudo using node.js process, and we'll be using that localhost 3000 IP, guys. And it's not running now. Now it's not running. So the server right now the server should not be reachable, right? You can check it out. The server is not getting time to get traffic. Yeah, right now you can see like the server is down. So you have seen that it shows the bad gateway output and it's serving the traffic to the another server. I'm saying is we can check the load balancer traffic, guys. Here you can see one of the ports must be unhealthy right now. It will take time to refresh here, but in the console you can see right now all the traffics are getting routed to the another newly scaled up instance. Okay, let's see that. Yeah, right now you can see, guys, right now the first server which is running during the first deployment, it's unhealthy right now because we have stopped the node.js process there. So it cannot able to check the health status of port 3000 slash. So it's getting failed. So it's getting routing the traffic to the new scaled up server which is running the port 3000. We'll be getting that output from that server, guys. So right now I showcased you how the infrastructure is right now working, and I also shown you how the pipeline gets triggered and how the code is deployed, and I also showed you how the whenever the code gets scaled up, whether it's updating to the new code or not. And I also shown you the document that I prepared for this and the architecture that I am prepared. So this is the first demo video. I hope everyone can understand. Thanks, team. Thank you.